Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind. I am joined by Beyond. Of course, this is coming after the Pascal Siakam trade has been completed. And so I'm going to quickly review both a little bit off the top of my head what it is. And kind of go from there. So, if I'm not mistaken, Pascal Siakam was moved, of course, for the Indiana Pacers. That would be mainly Bruce Brown would be the primary salary coming back. Of course, Jordan Noir from of course, Indiana Pacers, but he used to also play on the Bucks, if you guys remember. And of course, there was one other piece that was added for salary filler that came from a third team to help that team get under the tax, which would be Kara Lewis Jr. I'm a little bit more familiar with Kara Lewis Jr. than most other people might be. So we can talk about the different pieces throughout this deal. But before we get into that, a little bit of housekeeping stuff. First of all, we are going to be talking about the draft coming up. This is a kind of a special episode, so we're going to probably start flipping out draft episodes. Stay tuned on that. The next thing is we're going to talk a little bit of league-wide news and talk a little bit about that before getting into the Pascal Siakam news. Of course, we did also, I did just because I'm talking about the Pascal Siakam news, obviously there was 3 additional picks that came. I don't believe we got the second. I think that went to Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. So we got 3 first-round picks along with the Pascal Siakam, being shipped out. Before I get into that, first and foremost, how are you? And then we're going to talk about the league-wide news.
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's been a very eventful 2 or 3 weeks in Raptor land, so definitely
Yes.
keep it interesting. Good win, but we'll be talking on the weekend show when we get Coach back and all that wonderful stuff. Interesting press conference that
Oy.
we might want to kind of break down this weekend.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a whole pod by itself.
it really is. I mean, we could talk about it really briefly, but I'll just say, on one hand, you obviously appreciate Masai for being a little bit more vulnerable. Sure, I agree with that. At the same time, this is something that he did to himself. So I'm not really swayed. Maybe that's cold of me to say. Maybe I'll get a lot of messages or whatever. I mean, when you hear, and this is true, people. So if you aren't one of those people, that's good. But I've heard people say from the player side of things that they don't care, these people aren't people, and all this kind of stuff, slinging all sorts of people's names throughout the mud. And then when it comes to the president of basketball operations, they're like, "Oh, you know what? Like I forget that these people aren't robots." Why don't you just treat all people as people? That's probably not a bad idea to start with. Just
Yeah.
saying. I would never say that Masai Ujiri is not a person, and I don't think that people should be treating players as numbers. However, I do think that you can hold people accountable, and I do think that there are ways that people have kind of switched the narrative, especially when Masai himself admitted that like he was largely at fault for how things went down, not the fact that the trade was made. That's not the problem. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Um, I guess we'll do this before the league wide news then. um, I'll add one other thing. I heard people comparing paying Pascal Siakam the max to Kawhi. Kawhi didn't take the max for several reasons. Number one, he only plays half of his games, right? I heard you actually say this. And I'll tell you the quote. You only get what you have the leverage to negotiate, not what you want, not what you deserve, right?
Thank
In
you.
all situations. That's it,
One of the best
right?
quotes going when it comes to talking to this discussion, man. It's a classic quote, but yeah, thank you. I bungled it up. I know
Oh,
you
you're good,
always
man. You're good, man.
negotiating. And it was the classic moment. This phrase that didn't do the execution for the justice, but you did it right there. Thank you. I'm
It's
sitting there
it's
listening,
yeah.
what are you talking about? And he's 32 years
It's
old,
like
30, like,
Kawhi this, Kawhi that. It's like Kawhi. You guys are talking about paying a 30-year-old versus a 33-year-old. The 33-year-old's older, has more mileage on his legs, even at this age, at age
right.
30, and has not really played a lot of games. There is a reason why he is signing for less than the max. It's not to help out his team or anything like that. He ain't doing no one favors. He never did no one favors.
Exactly. Not that dude.
No, this
Come
ain't
on
no
now.
favor business for him.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
right.
You're telling me the dude that whose uncle reportedly was asking for like free extras on the side, like private jet flights and stuff like that, he's gonna give like a little bit of extra on the side? Homie, don't think so. Stop the
Uh,
cat, people. The amount of narrative building and stuff without people checking them or the right people checking them is preposterous. I'll
I
say
think it's just
that.
more like the fact that it's just like people just see the act like if we weren't in the same reality as them, like all of a sudden none of these things happen prior to this, and
Yeah.
we can just make up a whole new story or narrative or a character assessment of someone with when we have like literally all sorts of breadcrumbs, like literally documentation stuff like to say how this person's personality is throughout the years. It ain't
People,
like
yeah, people forget that Masai typically, for most of his free agents, including with Ibaka, right? He didn't offer Ibaka nothing. Ibaka
mm,
said so himself, unless you think Ibaka's lying, right?
yeah,
Ibaka wanted to come back. He didn't even get a call,
yes, right. I remember that.
right?
Yeah. They're like, and we're going to talk Ibaka want to stay. It's like, no.
Yes.
And that's
Lowry, they usually waited till the very last point. It's like, oh, see what you can get elsewhere. Then he comes back and stuff. Or okay,
so this
that's
idea,
yeah.
this man here out here just sobbing tears or fake tears, like give me a break, man. This dude's a guy studying the art of war. You think I'm losing sleep for this dude? Get the hell out of here, people. Like
Yeah.
I said, that.
I'm not saying he's a bad person or anything like that. I'm not trying to make character assessments, and I don't think you are either. So I don't want
Oh,
people to get the wrong impression. So
point is, let's cut through the BS a little bit, though, man. Like you gotta see it for what it is, guys. Like
yes,
the idea that this was, and people say it's honest. Fine. As I said before, I used another H word. I think it was humbling. I think there's
yes.
a lot of humility today because he had to take some L's on this little journey.
Apparently not with how people are reacting.
Oh well, no, I think there's two worlds. There's that world, and then there's reality. When people
Yes,
actually kind of say like, what, when you speak to like basketball analysts and journalists, when you speak to in this case here the reporters, I think they all
yes,
realize, you know what? Yeah, in the real world, dude, in the real world, everyone knows who usually gets the best player usually wins the deal. There's no question who the best player is in this
yeah.
deal.
This is like I know some people are trying to first of all separate the two deals, and even Masai tried to do that type of thing
Yeah,
today.
it's
No,
all I'm trying to
the
find
two
out.
deals are separate, right? The reality is the way that you should have been looking at the Pascal deal is the what you got from the OG deal should have been the foundation. You should not get less than that, right? And the reality is yes, we had to accept yet less. I mean, I told y'all, right? Like Beyond said this. This is why we didn't want to do a deal. This is why we said extend them, but way back in summer because you could have traded them for more, right? Then you could pick the destination. Then you could say, okay, Indiana, you don't want to pay the amount. Too bad, right? If you don't want to give the guy his agency, okay, fair enough. All right. If you want to see him as quote unquote just a number, as some people say, I'm not saying it, but some people are saying that, then you have to pay the man so that you can have him as just a number.
Right. Because here's the joke now. He's probably going to get the number from Indiana.
Yes, he will,
Right?
most likely. He
Most
will
likely.
not get the Supermax, so that has now, with him being traded, that eligibility is now gone.
Yeah.
But he will most likely get the max contract. He
Right.
wasn't going to go anywhere unless he was going to get at least a 4 year max. I know everyone's stuck on this 5 year. He said that he would take a 4 year max. Stop the cap. I'm
Exactly.
sick of people lying about this man, but also not just that man, but just also in general. Like, just
In
be
general.
honest about it.
Right. Right. We just talked about with Kawhi, right? As if there's a different Kawhi Leonard we didn't know about. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
This is a dude with a mercenary came in and
It was
said, yo,
literally like, I want to be in LA, want to be. It wasn't like like people forget this is before AD got traded to that
right,
team. He wanted to go there,
right.
right? Because
And
when
then
we
the
won the
Spurs,
championship, the Lakers
right,
were in the playoffs.
exactly. And the Spurs said we are not trading to LA. I don't
Yes,
care what you
because
say.
there's a long-standing history there.
Yes. And they also said they kind of like a bit of payback in this case because of all the issues between him and the front office, whichever side you want to believe. They
Yep.
thought they'll send him off to quote basketball Siberia.
Yeah, which I mean, to be fair, I think that while there was animosity, I think it was just a messy situation, right?
Yeah,
On a
it
lot of
was,
different
right?
parties.
And you lack trust on both sides in this case. Now, but the act like these pieces of information are not sitting out there in the public sphere, and now all of a sudden try to create some new type of reality where it's like, what are you talking about? He's doing it on he's doing it out of the goodness and warmness of his heart. Like, what the heck are you talking about? That man left your team in this case after 1 year of a championship team. That has nothing to do with the goodness and warmness of his heart. He said he's going to Los Angeles, and all of a sudden now you're going to tell me now
He even made Danny Green wait. Danny Green lost money.
that's money,
He was
right?
like waiting. He's like, listen, man, like I can't wait. I gotta go. I gotta make my bread, right?
Right. So like this
Because Danny Green even
idea,
said he was surprised. He was waiting. He's like, yo, dude, are you coming back or not? Because I gotta
right,
get paid.
right. This is the thing when people try to create realities that don't exist. And so it's a bigger issue where it's like, dudes, man, critical thinking,
Yes.
comprehension of what's going on here, man. So like, as far as the deal goes, get the deal. I mean, like, what are your thoughts about the deal, man?
Well, okay. So before we really get into the deal, there's something because I think you'll get lost in it. And that's the league-wide news, and it is related to the deal. Christian Koloko got waived.
Is that
Optics
another?
are important. Image is important.
Well,
Sometimes
yeah.
image can be everything, as we see.
Is that a good segue for our attorney talk now?
I think that that's a good that's a good segue because the whole Shams thing we could go on and on about honestly. A lot of these things could be podcasts on themselves, but we're trying to get through a bunch of different topics. This is kind of a quick hitting one. We'll maybe dive into that one in the future for sure. But I will say I wish Christian all the best. I hope to see him soon in some sort of capacity, one way, shape, or form. And hopefully he's. I think he will always be part of the NBA family, regardless of what happens. One other thing. But I don't want people to speculate and compare different situations. Chris Bosh had a blood clotting issue. Each person's body and physiology is very different. I'm not going to go and turn this into a science lesson or anything like that. I could, but I'm not going to. But what I will say is there's a lot of things that go into it. Do not compare people's situations and stuff like that. Leave it up to the professionals. With that being said, we're going to switch over to the main topic at hand, the trade. So now that the dust is settled, we've waived. We're now at 15 roster spots, and also in a couple minutes now, because we're filming this before. Who are we playing again? Oh, right, that's Chicago, because DeMar was in town. So we're playing. We're playing a whole slew of different Raptors legends, one after the other after the other. Bruce Brown is officially going to suit up for the Raptors for the time being, at least. He may not be staying, but he is here for now. Do you want to talk about the picks first, or do you want to talk about, the players?
Let's you mentioned the players.
You're
Let's get
like,
the
there's not
players.
much either way. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's not really. My thoughts about this deal. I mean, but it is what it is. I mean, I expected a deal like this. You know how I thought about it. But obviously, he at the moment is kind of the crown jewel of this deal from a Raptors perspective.
Yep.
Um, I am curious to see what happens to him and how he gets deployed and like what part, like when does he enter the rotation? I mean, I'm assuming he is not starting. Um, you
No,
know,
because they might need to showcase another player named Gary.
well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a whole other discussion. But I think with him, I think it'll be interesting how they deploy him, what type of units they run him with.
Mm.
Um, and that's going to be fascinating to see. And also, I guess with the other two guys, how much time do they even get? Noir, I think, will get legitimate minutes.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's played legit minutes
yeah, he
before.
played legitimate minutes. The other guy, Lewis, I have no clue if he even sees the light of day. You
Yeah.
know him. I mean, I even know what the dude's name is. Like, wait, that dude plays. I was like, I think
He was a 13th overall pick a couple years ago. He's in his fourth year, if I'm not mistaken. I think he might even be, is this his final year of his rookie scale deal? I believe so. $5 million. Sorry?
Malachi Flynn again.
It, I want to go there. I'm not going to go there today. What I will say though is, in terms of Kira Lewis, he had a decent year last year, but he hasn't really done much in the NBA. Part of it has been he's had a lot of bad luck with injury, luck, which is not going to be a good sell point because again, when you get injured, as we see with guys like James Wiseman, it hampers your development. The best way to get experience, as we know with Grady Dick, is to be on the court. regardless of your draft positioning. And that's just that. And so if you're missing a lot of time due to injury, it puts you behind. In theory, it puts you far and further behind. And yes, I do understand that. Yes, there was one time, because people talked about it in a space. One time he put up 38 points in the G League. Again, if you're a 13th overall pick, you should be doing well in the G League. I'm just gonna put that out there. Now, I'm not dissing Kira Lewis or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I'm not going to be putting in a Joe Wieskamp style 16-minute video on this channel. No offense. I'm just not going to do that. I am going to wait and see. I think people need to temper their expectations, especially with someone who currently is shooting 10% from three as a
Okay.
guard and is 6'1".
Are they worried about Siakam? Okay. I'll move on from that. Okay, let me ask you.
Going on to the next one.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. The players like I mean, like
Jordan Nwora, from a defensive standpoint, is not helping our defense. He is currently, per NBA Crafted, in the first percentile of all players, which means he is close to the worst. He is the 99th percentile worst defender in the NBA.
they're getting him and Grady in the backcourt right now.
Yes. Now, in terms of rim defense, he does a good job of that. He takes good shot quality, and I do think that he's able to show that he can be a smart passer and player in certain spots. So I am excited for his growth. It is another guard. He's 6'5" with a 6'10" wingspan. He's 25, so he's relatively young. And I believe did he sign a new contract, or is he a restricted free agent? I can't remember at this point.
I mean, like,
Um,
yeah.
this is either way that at this point, most of these players are on the 30-day trial kind of a thing, if you want to think about it that way, just to keep it short.
Well, let's get to the fun now,
Yeah.
which is
Bruce Brown is the most interesting thing of this trade, because from one standpoint, and sorry if I'm talking too much, you just chime in,
go
man.
ahead, man. Go ahead. I'm listening, man. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, we have a qualifying offer on Jordan Nwora starting next year. He's a $3 million player, and we'll see if we continue on with him. I don't know. We will see how he plays between now and the end of the season. So keep that in mind. We are valuing flexibility, but from the standpoint of free agency, there's not a lot of free agents going on unless you want to get one of the two that you just left. And sorry, people. And you have to just accept Lowry is not coming back.
There's
Okay.
literally people actually talking about that. I can't believe
Yes,
it.
people are like, we should trade for Lowry, and I'm like, this dude escaped. Okay, he escaped. Let the man go. Okay, he will come back on a 10-day or a 1-day, and he will retire as a
He
Raptor.
comes back as a Raptor is when he's trying to retire his jersey. Oh
Yes.
my gosh! And honestly, yeah, yeah. On a side note, I guess we're talking Lowry. Hey, fine words. I love what you had to say about Pascal. I thought it was perfect timing. Well said. Um, that's what happens when you're like a captain or a franchise face. That's the type of stuff that you say. The kind of was well timed. It was kind of a bit of a commemoration, kind of a nice send off in this case here. So
Did he say anything about OG?
no. Well, I think to be fair, I mean,
I guess I didn't
Miami,
ask him about OG.
yeah, Miami wasn't in town, right? It was like obvious thing. Like so, to be fair, the timing was beautiful. And then tonight, with
Mhm.
Demar, it was really, really interesting timing. And you might even Demar have something to say tonight. But yeah, I think I am curious to see. I think let's face it, we know this is setting up for a move somewhere because that's what this is about. So the question is, which guard gets moved?
Well, we
Let's,
also know it's a move for two other reasons. We still don't really have a center. We definitely
yes,
don't have a center because Pirtle's out for what, 6 weeks, and
yeah,
until he's evaluated again. And then Jonte Porter, but for reasons that I'm not going to get into today, it's actually advantageous for them to wait till the end of the season to decide whether or not they're going to pick him up. So, and also Masai said he acted as if we have 3 picks, as in not their own, and he said we don't plan to use all 3 this year. In other words, hint hint, don't put your phone down, although you might want to, because knowing this front office. Now, with with that being said, I know a lot of people think that it's Bruce Brown. I guess we haven't really gotten into Bruce Brown, but I don't know if Bruce Brown goes.
yeah. I'm with you now. I think 24 hours later, I am now of the mindset and see that Bruce Brown seems to be interested to be playing with this team too. So like, I don't think that's the case. I think,
You also
you
don't
know,
make someone change their jersey on the team to like
yeah,
accommodate someone to then ship them out.
yeah, exactly. Right. There's the logistics of it. So and I think Bruce Brown has the type of temperament that is what you need on a team like this,
Yes.
especially for a younger team. So I overall, just from a basketball standpoint, I have no issue with that from a basketball standpoint. I think he's a great pickup.
And from
Um,
flexibility, they have his team option.
exactly, exactly. And he's a guy in this case that will get a lot of like pull from folks in the offseason if you want to trade him. And even if they want to trade him next 3 weeks, if they still want to do so and they don't care about the jersey changes, uh,
Yes.
really, if there's a deal, they really don't care. I've seen
Yes.
stranger things.
It's
Really
been
that,
fun. It'll be a good hoops grid thing,
yeah,
potentially.
yeah, we've seen stranger things like that before, man. So like that doesn't matter. We've seen guys in the middle of the game get traded. Like what?
That
What's in the
was
game?
cold, man.
Right.
Harrison Barnes, for those who don't know.
Yes. So like,
Literally, like, yo, come here. We're pulling you from the game because you ain't
so like,
here no more.
yeah, these dudes are like, these guys are a bunch of sharks, man. So these guys don't care. So jerseys ain't gonna stop anybody. I will say that I am fascinated to see how he's used by Darko. And then what I do like about Brown, he's a different type of player compared to
Yeah.
some of the other guys. We don't really have a guy that does dirty work right now on this team.
No.
And he's a dirty work type of guy. And we need a couple guys like that on this team. He will be one. I think what we're talking about and leaning towards, if you get a front court player, he would have to be one to do
Yep.
the dirty work. Technically, Porter's the other one right now, right? So,
Yep.
and I think you're seeing the benefits of Porter dirty work, getting in there and putting his nose in for rebounds and loose balls and that type of stuff. So I like it. It makes it for an interesting, squad from that standpoint. But but I thought I was really hinting at. I thought what you really wanted to get into next was the picks.
Yes. Yeah, sure. We can get into the picks. So,
The
what
picks.
angle do you want to take from it? Because, like I said,
Well, let's get to the first part of this, which is based off of
I
the
think we have like 10 minutes just because I know the
yeah,
game starts a little later. So just
exactly.
keep me focused.
Okay, so I'll get this quick. The first conference today was interesting because for a man a year ago, he didn't care much for the 2024 draft. Now, all of a sudden, he's quite interested in the 2024 draft now. Now, you
Well,
mentioned
you
that.
notice he didn't answer that question really at
No,
the
he didn't.
presser.
No, I find that
He's
funny.
just like, oh well, like
The squirming a little
Tolsman or
bit.
whatever doesn't want me to say anything. It's just like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
come on,
yeah.
bro, stop
Yeah,
lying.
it's like whatever. Yeah, you just fire the dude the next day if you really wanted to. Like, give me a break.
Jeez.
But my point is this: he now says, now that we have all these picks, I love what the Raptors. Like, the only team everyone's running from the 24 draft, but not the Raptors. I said before, I used it in this case here. Is like we got all the bad real estate that no one wanted. Everyone's trying to get out of the bad neighborhood with the real estate, and we right here in the middle of it with like 4 picks. Potentially 4 picks. So I assume I'm like you. I assume one of them will get parlayed into some deal. But the question I asked earlier, and I ask you this: how much is the 2024 first round pick worth these days? Because
Of
that is
the
the
next 3 years, including this year, so or I guess of the next, including this draft and then the future two, going to 2026, this is the least worth from a league standpoint. You're seeing these get traded the most. You're seeing 2026 get traded the least.
right, which is the one thing I was actually very excited about that 2026 pick. That's the one I was like sitting there
I
going,
agree.
oh, yeah,
I like that draft pick.
yeah, yeah,
Of
exactly. I
all
was
the
like,
of all the stuff that we got long
this is the
term,
one,
that's
yeah,
the one that I like, people.
yes, I agree. That
Um,
was like, oh, yeah,
Yeah, I said the day before because someone was asking me, and I was like, the one that I'm like, I don't think this is a good reported deal. But if there is, if one of those picks is 2025 or 2020, I don't want 2027. I don't want 28, 9, all the way. I don't want something that these kids are like in high school, not even in high school yet, right? I want something that is going to be. You want to stagger out your development because we
yeah,
don't even know how good this development is. I know everyone's like, oh, Scotty Barnes. The people that develop Scotty Barnes outside of Scotty Barnes' own camp are fired. They do not exist anymore on this team, right?
right,
Like we have all new people, and he worked
exactly.
with his own people this year, just so
Right,
people know.
which someone in this case here made a great point about that the other day, talking about how Pascal got his own people. You
Yep.
know, he's got
Apparently,
his own
Grady
people.
now has his own people too.
Smart move, Grady. Smart move, man. You'll be in the career. You'll be in the league a lot longer by doing so. I trust. I'll say this though, like the
I
20s,
mean, he has the money. They all have the money for it too. So
but
that's a
everyone doesn't
smart.
do it. Though.
No,
Everyone doesn't
no,
do it though, right? That's the
that
point.
and working on your body. Most important things as an
Exactly,
NBA player, and
right?
do it early, people.
Right. All these dudes have the resources to do that, but we don't play these dudes. Do not do it. They just go home, play video games, or go and hang out and go to the club. That's just a fact, folks. I'm not saying everyone. I'm not saying put this on the Raptors. That's just an NBA
Not
thing.
any particular player. Just we know
Exactly.
we know that they like to party. They
Right.
say that they
So,
like to party.
yeah, there's parties and video games like for most of these dudes. That's
Hey
all I'm
man,
saying.
most 20 something year olds with $10 million, there's
Yeah,
life
I'm
couldn't
not
be
saying
better.
right. I can't say I blame him. I get it. With all the distractions, if we want to call them that way, I get that. But the guys in this case that put in that extra work and put those resources towards themselves from early, that's a great sign. So for Grady, props on him. But
Yep.
going back to this draft pick, the kind of tie this up. My point is like I agree with you. 25 and 26 drafts are supposed to be pretty good drafts, right?
Yep.
There's like Boozer twins and there's obviously
Cooper
Cooper there
Flag. Yep.
and all that. So great. You want to get one of those picks. So I agree with you on that. My point was in this case with 2024, you're right, it's the least valuable. So the question is, if you were to parlay that with a player that's on this roster, is anyone really willing to bite on that? That's what I wonder. Is that much of a carrot as much as
I
people think?
think it's enough to get what you need to be to balance this roster in the way that you need to by the end of the year.
Calling Orlando.
So Orlando is one. Coach and I were discussing one where it's like, OKC, but for me, it's like, why am I giving a pick to give them Pirtle? They should be giving me something.
Right. And I don't think we're in the luxury that we could give away Pirtle just
I
yet.
don't think so either. I think we got to
No,
hold on that puppy until
exactly.
until
I
summer.
agree.
That's a summer move,
That's a summer move. Exactly.
especially with the way that this man talked about Pirtle, calling him a mistake.
I couldn't believe that, man.
That
Like,
that got lost. Everyone's feeling bad
right.
for Masai. He called his
I
other
tell you,
dude a
what
mistake.
did we say on Reese's pod yesterday? What's
Wait,
the
wait.
over under of foot in the mouth moments? And
Yes,
I get
yes.
two. When we get one
He's
or
this
two
guy,
today.
and
No,
that's the funny thing that he says so much that things get lost in the shuffle. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. It's like, I apologize to this guy. I was, oh, yeah, he apologized. I'm like, yeah, he said, I'm sorry. Now pack your bags.
yeah, man. Like I think yeah,
Sorry
but
about not talking to you. No,
yeah. Oh my gosh, you guys some moments today,
get to
man.
get.
It
Don't
was
let the door hit you.
sight to behold, man. Sight to behold, man. It was quite a
Nasty
performance.
work, man.
It was quite a performance, man. I
I
tell you.
personally, I find it hilarious.
Oh,
That's just
I
me.
just shake my head sometimes because I find the funny part to your point is like how people find this. Like I find this hilarious.
People are like weeping today. They're
Yeah,
like, oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Like, and he has some tactics he uses, which are very, as I said before, if you come from a different world and you understand where I'm coming from with this, you can smell those tactics from a mile away. It's like, oh, okay. So you kind of do something that looks so outrageous in this case from an emotional standpoint. People
Yes.
forget about the question, and then you can then divert the question to where you want to go to, right?
He's
So
he's a smart man. That's all. He's good.
oh,
He's
on
good.
that
He's
front,
really
extremely
good.
engaged. Yeah, like I give the media credit today though. They
Oh,
kind of
they held his feet to the fire.
yeah, they were on the Bronco a little bit, but they held on to the steed well enough in this case here to
Yes.
get the questions they need to get on him because yeah, he was trying to pull that trick today. Is like they were like nah, let's get
Grange, Doug, everyone.
back. Exactly.
Everyone was giving him the business. But yeah, no, I think yeah. So there, I'm not going to go through all this stuff. But Wendell, if you had to parlay a pick to get Wendell Carter Jr. and say it was only Chris Boucher, would you do it? Now, Coach said no. I'm curious what you would say. I'm just hypothetical. You wouldn't?
I would.
Okay, that's what I said. I'm like, I would. Yeah. Why are we holding on to Chris Boucher? No offense to Chris Boucher.
Well, it's not only that. You have to ask yourself: are you going to find a player with the 2024 pick is going to be better than Wendell Carter right now?
Probably not.
That's what I'm saying, right? So, like, because it's not the Boucher part; it's the pick. So,
And he's already locked up for basically the same amount as almost the same amount as a first round pick, 3 years.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, get Wendell Carter. He's on the same. So everyone's like the timelines. There you go, guys. He's on the same timeline.
I don't think we're gonna get Grimes. I don't think we need another.
Where's this Grimes infatuation coming from?
I think people just like Grimes for the longest time because he's a guard that can shoot, but then they're forgetting that we just got a whole bunch of guards and we're also trying to get rid of one.
And we're trying to get Grady to play. Like, I mean, like
That too, because if you bring in Grimes, then it's like you still have Gary, or even if it's just like you're going into the same situation where you're trying to find minutes for Gary.
two more guards.
Sorry,
are
Grady.
Brown 3 guards right now, and it's still got to get Grady, and you still got Gary. Oh my God, and Schroeder. Like, come on, guys. All
Yeah.
right, man. Okay, I know we gotta wrap up soon,
Yeah.
but I
Sorry.
no. I'm just trying to keep us on time here, but I think we were missed in this case. We didn't talk about Pascal for a second. I mean,
Yeah.
we kind of talked about everybody else besides the man of the hour. Which is ironic. We've talked about everybody from Christian Koloko, the Jordan Noir who got more time so far.
Well, hey, man, people can't accuse us of being like hypersensitive or emotional. If
Right,
like we're taking this long to get into the
right.
Pascal Siakam, the
Yeah,
man of the hour stuff.
you literally only mentioned as calling it his trade. That's about it. That's about it.
True.
I guess in this case you want to call it parting words with the trade or with Siakam overall. If you want,
It's
if
like
you
a damn
want
obituary. Like, okay, and
no,
that's
no,
it, and flip, and then the next,
I would
and
say
then you flip the
obituary, but
page.
I
I'm
hear
just
you.
saying that's how it feels that we barely
No,
mentioned him.
yeah, we hardly mentioned it, but
It's a
I think
$5 ad.
honestly, I think that's also very symptomatic a little bit of this whole experience with Siakam. Because I
Yeah.
think he's the guy kind of just taken for granted. And even on the day when he gets traded, no one's gonna mind him. And Siakam is doing his thing.
Well,
And
I
it's
just feel so beat down by so many people about like, oh, just accept it, and I'm like, I know he's going. I'm just saying, like, we have problems on this team. Like, we still need a center,
I
right?
think we were on space yesterday because I think this is the problem right now with fandom nowadays. Like people think they're fans actually of the team. They're not really they're fans of transactions. They're not really fans of actually watching basketball, what you would like about basketball, be it the players. Right. Yeah, I know, Troy, there's a lot of that. And a lot of the fantasy basketball stuff or whatever, like it's all that combined in it, the betting, all of it's part of it. And it's like it's a different change and shift. Like well, it's all said and done. Like he's one of the three or four greatest Raptors of all time. Can we have a second to kind of just marinate on that for a minute? And like as I said before, he's paid his dues on this team and this franchise. He's given a lot to this city. You find out his foundation's still going to remain here. He's going to probably still come and visit in the summertime. I think the quality of character sometimes of the individual when they do right in this case here we take for granted in society too much. And everyone wants to jump on when someone does something plenty wrong, and it's understandable. But like sometimes we don't take a moment, touch grass, smell the roses, whatever you want to call it, of like when someone's actually kind of going and doing things the right way. And I think to see someone I think in some ways he embodies the Raptors more probably than any other player that's ever been here, that's ever been in here, more than DeMar, more than Kyle, more than Vince. Because if you had to think about the Raptors, especially in this era here, what do you think of? Well, in this case here, they're kind of scrappy. They're kind of like a work hard in this case here, kind of get the most out of what they're about. There's no player in this case has done that more ever in a Raptor uniform than Pascal Siakam. And I think interesting to see how his teammates spoke about him. To hear even Darko, who at the beginning had kind of a rocky relationship, but I'll give Darko credit. I think he did a
He
good
was like he
job.
was a professional and all
Yeah,
this kind of like
I think he did.
all the nasty things that people have said, the people that would say, "Oh, I miss Pascal," and then the next minute show a low light video of him. Well, those same people that are promoting, Darko and stuff like that, the people that you like are all saying that this guy was basically like the ultimate professional throughout this entire year, and they couldn't have asked for more. So I think
Including
that including Masai, right? Basically saying he basically maneuvered this thing 100 out of 100. Now those were his exact words.
he really did actually. I said before, I applaud his management team and him how they managed this situation because
Yep.
it seems like now you're
Yep.
getting kind of like the backstory and the oral history starting to kind of come out a little bit. And it
And
seems like,
Masai and his management are still not talking bad about the Raptors. So people remember that.
but I think you're right because it's only been coming one way. Really, it has not been going the other way. And I think the fact that Halliburton and him had been talking, it seems like for a minute, maybe from last year's All Star game, I don't know, but it definitely the two have been talking, and he's been doing some recruiting.
Well, it's funny because I remember someone saying that like Pascal has no NBA friends and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do
Oh,
recall that.
lo and behold.
Behold, look who's talking to him all this time.
And I remember KD wanted to play with him. Just gonna put that out there.
Draymond Green had no problem with him. It seems like that.
Also Jokic.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
I think there's NBA players that respect his game.
Yeah, yeah. I just, you saw what Kyle had to say about him. Like, yeah, I just sit here and shake my head because it's the irony. Because you hear the story about the thing about the timelines.
Well,
How
Halliburton's
irony.
1 year older.
Yeah, that's why I mean with in theory almost as young a team.
Yes.
Just for the record. Anyways, good luck to you, Pascal. I am looking forward to seeing what you do. You're now playing for my cousin's team. We talked last night. He's quite excited, as he
Yep.
should be. I think he might be going to some games. Who knows? But they're a fun team to watch to begin with. I was watching Indy quite a bit already. Even more reason to kind of watch now. They're going to be a fun team to watch. Hope they make the playoffs and see where things go from there on his journey. I always like to see what the ex Raptors do, and they all do well, including
Yep.
Fred. Good on you, Fred.
And I'll just say my piece really quickly. First of all, just from an Indiana Pacers standpoint, they got a really good player, a borderline All NBA player for the next couple years for sure. Regardless of whether he makes All NBA or not, he's up there, and he throughout all of this time, he has been a constant in terms of his production year over year. There's been times when it has dipped, even through chaos and turmoil, yet he has still always came through. As Masai once said, he's a man that always keeps coming back and fighting through, whether it's shoulder injury, whether it's this, whether it's racism, he has always fought through. So, I do want to say I've already made kind of a pseudo Pascal Siakam tribute video from way back. So maybe I'll link that in the description for those who are interested. I will be making more breakdown videos like that on the current players, when I have the time, of course. But so don't expect a video because I already have like a 25-minute video on this channel. But that being said, I think the other thing too is there's a fundamental misunderstanding of his game and what he will bring to Indiana. People think that he's going to slow down Indiana, and then they forget how he won the championship, and how he is still good and how he's still elite in transition. That team likes to get out and run. He's going to thrive there.
Imagine how many easy baskets he's gonna get. Like it's
He
gonna be. He's
hasn't
gonna
had
be
easy baskets since Kyle.
that's what I'm saying. He's gonna be wondering like, what? I'm open here for a dunk. Like what?
And no offense to Kyle, Kyle is the GOAT, but that's probably going to be the
Talented
best point
point guard.
guard that
Yeah,
he's ever played with in his entire career.
I would say the most talented. I'm not sure he's the best yet, but I say
Yeah,
the
well,
most.
that's why. I mean, because he's like basically an all NBA. He's just starting to be all NBA.
But wow,
So
that's a fantastic combination there.
it's that team, and the other thing is that team also has the assets to make a move.
Yeah, and he has the type of coach that likes that type of style player.
Yep.
That just
And
comes
if
out in
and if they and if that's and here's the other thing. When the game slows down and they need a mid-range player, he can also be advantageous there. So he can get up and run with the best of them. I know some people that say, "Oh, he's spoon-fed, and that's the only way he's been good," which is cap. But even if it is,
like,
yeah, I mean, people say nonsense, but I mean, to be honest, hey, you put Scotty with Halliburton, Scotty's gonna look better. You put Scotty, if you put good players with other good players, they
work it
will
out.
look better. If Shea was playing with Siakam or with Scotty, they would both look better. Shocker, right? So yeah, I mean I mean, I don't really want to go on and on. I just think that, he's a really good player. I wish it worked. I'm, primarily because, as Masai said, we're going into essentially for the first time, a rebuild. And so I'll finish off, briefly talking about there, because I know that the game is basically starting. And I'll just say this, like, people need to be patient with the rebuild. Be patient with the with Scotty. I know that they probably won't. This is what I've been trying to say. That's why I keep saying he needs work, and he's not there yet. And when Masai was asked that today, Masai said, someone said, well, is he ready to basically be the man? And he was like, I don't know if he's ready or not, but we'll do our best to put him
Find
in.
out real quick.
Yeah,
No.
we'll put him in a position to find out. I don't think so, though, right? And then Darko kind of walked back his own statement today as well, pre-game, basically saying, he's the face of the franchise, but people have to remember that he's 22. So this is my thing.
So he's
This
not
is
the
a
face of
skirt.
the NBA just yet. Is that what we're saying?
No, yeah, well, not yet.
Okay.
Luca step aside, Ant step aside, everyone step aside. But yeah, I think that that's the thing, and it's not me trying to make fun of Scotty Barnes. What I'm trying to say is to elevate him and to get him to wherever he's going to be, however levels of he's going to be. Neither you or I want him to be bad, but we
No,
also are saying temper your expectations. That's
it,
it.
this right. And here's the thing: this should be the fun part, people. Like, there's
Hmm?
two times where there's technically fun parts when you're driving for a championship, because the stakes of what they are, and the other time when you're a fan. In this case,
When
is
you
when
have
you have
no
a young
stakes.
team, and you have no stakes. You have a young team growing. You're watching them build. This should be the fun time, guys. Enjoy it. This is what it's
Yes.
about now.
Yeah, so we'll take it day by day. We're obviously going to be talking about it here on Basketball Rewind. Like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned. It will be fun to watch this team grow. And again, we're probably not going to use all three of those picks, which to me also sounds like not only are they going to make a trade, but I don't think that they are going to try to tank. Sorry for those who are trying to tank. But I don't think that they want to take their pick this year. We will talk about that more on the weekend. Stay tuned. Talk to you later. And beyond, I'll obviously talk to you later as well. We'll enjoy the game. Take care. Peace.